We're recording, and I will share my screen. Everybody can see that? Okay. Well, Casey, feel free to take it away.
Okay, yes. I do feel like, are you just going to flip in between the slides for me?
Yeah, and if you'll just let me know when you want to go to the next one, you could just
Okay,
say.
perfect. Yes. So, really, the reason I'm on here is because, the way that we are set up is, well, we could do a little bit about me. I am the accountant. I am a retired. I love that you can tell Philip put this together because I would never tell you all that was a retired professional mountain biker. Yes, I did recently retire from that, and I coach up at Lee's McRae still for their cycling team and some other kids around. And yeah, I also just gave birth, which was part of retiring to now she's a 6 month old Opal. So, yes, that's a little bit about me. And I'm here for any of you all if you ever have any tax questions, bookkeeping questions. Yeah, really anything to do with finance or rules with nonprofits. Philip.
Yep. Most of y'all know me, but in case you don't, my name is Philip Darden. I'm the executive director of SORBA. I've worked for SORBA full time since 2021, and I started my journey in the organization in 2011 as a volunteer vice president, president, Alabama representative on the SORBA executive committee, uh, all the things. So I've been around for a while, but working for SORBA for the last 5 years. And she doesn't have an introductory card on here, but Madison, our membership director, is here on the call as well. You want to say hi real quick, Maddie?
Hey, everybody. I'm just here to learn as well, but I'm the membership director. If you need anything related to memberships, the SORBA app, High Pass Admin Council, please reach out to me. My information is in the chapter portal on the Contact Us page.
All right. So, to start this off, just to tell you a little bit about the way that we're set up, we are under a group exemption, and SORBA is our central organization, and then all the chapters below it are subordinates. And before, like, basically every year, you guys were in charge of making sure you filed your taxes, everything is smooth on your end, but we didn't really do any bit of the managing or making sure that you did it. We just told you all to do it and told you all to upload this stuff, and that's how we went about it. But now there is a new rule that the IRS put out that goes into effect January 7th or January of next year, 2027 is really the most important part of that. So nothing is going to be crucial in changing this year. So you guys will file tax returns as for your 2025 year right now, and do not worry about what is happening, but this is to prepare us for what we will have to manage and take care of next year. So fine print, you even have the took effect in January 2026. So yes, that will come into then. We can go ahead and change it to the next slide. Okay, so the biggest thing is that we need to make sure that we're doing this so that we can ensure that our chapter remains compliant with the IRS rules, and it protects our group exemption from penalties and making sure that we still stay at 501c3. Obviously, it helps us avoid the IRS notices, late fees, all that good stuff. And it will support smoother officer transitions and consistent operations going forward. So I think we can go to the next slide, which that was what that was for. So we've already said those. Next one. Okay, so one of the biggest changes that's going to happen for the chapters is right now, all of you all file your 990s, and that's it. We, as the central organization, honestly do not have to look at them, but moving forward, we will have to review them. And I will do that as part of my role with SORBA. But it also is like for anybody that take or brings in less than 50,000 gross income, that is when you guys just follow the little postcard. You don't actually have to file a 990 and fill out the return. If you guys do that, I feel like maybe this will be on the next slide, but just to give you a little glimpse of it, those are going to be the biggest people that have the changes, because they're going to have to send us all of their reports, bank reconciliations, and I'm going to have to review that because they don't have a tax return. Now, for all of those that do file the 990 EZ or just the normal 990, then yes, you will just send us the tax return every year and we have to review it and okay it. And the biggest thing is, if you guys don't, the chapters don't send us these returns, then we have to remove you from our group exemption that we file every year. And then the only way back into the 501c3 nonprofit status is you have to go back through the IRS to do that again. So that's just, it's going to be a pain in the butt for you all. So it's best to just make sure that you're following that tax return and giving us everything we need when we email you. Next slide. So yes, so this is just going over the filing deadlines for your tax returns. All of us think of tax day as April 15th. That is not true for nonprofits. It's May 15th. So you get an extra month, which is nice. So that, of course, is for end of year December 31st. If it's June 30th is your end of fiscal year, then it's November 15th is your filing date. So, and that applies to anybody across the board, nonprofits for 990s. Okay, so the record keeping expectations for you all. These will go into the SORBA Google Drive that you guys will upload into portal uploads. Currently, right now, I'm sending you guys payout reports through there, so we should be pretty familiar with that. And yes, you guys will upload your 990s, and I will go in there and review it. And for the people with that are chapters that do the postcard that bring in less than 50,000, those will have to upload the P&L balance sheet and every month statements and the actual bank reconciliation report. And I will, when I say that out loud, that's like if you have QuickBooks. I know some of the chapters don't have QuickBooks. So whichever method they use, whether it's Excel, QuickBooks, however they do it, you have to give me everything. And I have to review it and make sure that it looks good and we're all in the okay to move forward with that. Yeah, and then some stuff that we just want on the side of SORBA that doesn't have to or pertain to this IRS is the meeting minutes, the governing documents, Secretary of State filings, and the updated officer list every year. So, and I will make sure I'll just have a checklist, and each chapter I will just check those off, and I will send out emails and kind of bug you all, but at some point it's like, if I don't get that information, you will have to be removed from that Gen report. Yes, of course, contact us immediately. If you guys do get an IRS notice, don't just put it on the desk or say that you guys will handle it on your own, because you guys are subordinates of the main chapter. That is stuff that we will have to be in the knowing of and that we could possibly help you out with. So, and then notify us of any leadership changes. And yes, make sure you guys are asking these questions early. That's why we're doing this now and not December of next year. So nobody's going to be surprised when this happens. Okay, yeah. Biggest thing is this is protecting all of us. So it is going to be a little bit more work for, say, the SORBA main chapter, because we have to review everything. We have to make sure you guys are uploading it. But at the end of the day, this shouldn't be any more work for you all except uploading it, because this is something you guys were supposed to be doing every single year. And I know it's very easy to file an extension and then just put it off. So if you file an extension, make sure that you get that in before the extension date, you know? Yeah, filing correctly is a non-negotiable. So if you think, oh, well, like this year I'm going to bring in $60,000 in receipts and maybe next year 70 and it's close to the 50,000 mark, be on the safe side. You can email me or call me and I will help you decide in that. But the best manner is probably that you need to file an actual tax return and not do the postcard. And the best advice for record keeping is just either every month, if you're a pretty busy chapter, or every quarter, you're reconciling your bank statements. And if we don't understand what I mean by that, don't worry about it. Just email me. I can help you. It's actually very easy to do once you understand it. And by doing that, you can, at the end of the year, file your tax return, know that your books are clean, and it's a smooth sailing. And yeah, we are here to help, and we will provide the tools and templates for that. So yes, SORBA Drive updates.
I'll hint on this one because this may be new to you too. So there's been some recent changes to the SORBA drive, and we were able to make it so that everyone that is on the chapter's email contact list will now have access to be a content manager for the chapter's Google Drive, as long as they have a Google account. So we've already added all those folks to it. If you log in to your own personal Gmail account or whatever Gmail was associated with that list that you sent Maddie and I to keep the contact list up to date, you'll click on the shared drives folder on the left-hand side, and it will show your chapters folders. From there, you'll be able to manage the content that's there, add stuff. So it'll be a whole lot easier to access those chapter payout reports, to upload documents, to see what's going on the SORBA realm. So it gives you access to both your chapter and the regional drive. So it makes life a whole heck of a lot easier on that point. And to reiterate, like, these changes are going to just help make us more stable. It is a little bit more work on SORBA's end, but before these changes, group exemptions could operate kind of fast and loose, and this gives us a lot more accountability and makes sure that our chapters are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and gives us just a little bit more oversight on what you all are doing. So before we move on to the second section, which will go over a different topic, so the name changing topic, I want to open it up for questions, and feel free to raise your hand, take yourself off mute, and ask any questions that you might have. Curtis.
Hey, so I guess could you provide some clarity or at least some history about how we rolled up into SORBA, their nonprofit status, I guess, because we had a nonprofit determination, I'm assuming before, dating back decades. So I'm just curious, we send that nonprofit determination letter for grant purposes and all sorts of things. So is that letter still valid? Have things changed how we should be functioning as an organization?
It could be still valid. So the way that this is set up and the group exemption has been set up, it's been this way for decades as well. You may have send me the letter of determination that you have, and is it the same EIN number that you currently use?
It is, and I'm pretty sure it predates SORBA, like our involvement with SORBA. And the way we're registered with the state obviously isn't Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association, Tar Heel Trailblazers. So none of our information aligns.
Yeah, let's talk about that offline, and we'll get to the bottom of it. Anybody else have any questions?
Yes, Philip. This is Mark Sullivan with the Tar Heel Trailblazers. I was actually the club treasurer when we became a chapter back in late 2010, and our our 501c3 determination letter, I believe, was from 1997 originally.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it could be that they're basically it's a dual connection. So it could be that. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Okay, very good.
Anybody else?
Philip, Shane with the Florida Mud Cutters. We went through this process and we kind of had some emails back and forth with you and your staff. But we found out that we were uncategorized with the IRS. So we weren't able to get some large corporate donations due to that. That never ended up getting resolved. I know you said you were going to talk about how to change your name with the IRS, but are you able to comment on that or provide some direction on that?
No, I don't. Casey, do you have any insight on that?
I guess I don't remember this. Like, you guys are uncategorized.
Yeah, we had a guy, part of our board, who worked with Gardner and was going through the application process, which was pretty lengthy, and that's what they came back and found was that, we're not. They don't know what kind of nonprofit we are. We're being uncategorized. And I think the question came up like, what do we register as? Like a sports organization, educational organization, like what is it?
Okay, so that's the category you're talking about. Okay, yeah, let's talk we should definitely talk after this, but and that's affected your nonprofit status to not have the same category as we are.
Just we can't get any large donations. That's like a roadblock.
Yeah, do you have those letters still with the IRS, that the communication you've had with them, or was it over the phone?
We never got anyone on the phone. No.
Okay.
I could dig up some emails that we were sending back forth. I believe it was you and Philip that
okay.
were dealing with that.
Resend those so it'll jog my memory there for sure. Yeah, because the only thing that I hear there is like that would be worrisome is like if you're not categorized as a 501c3. But if you are, then I don't understand why you can't get big donor money.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either. But
yeah, and
yeah, I'll forward you that email.
Yeah, because was it the donor that said that you couldn't get it, or was it?
It was the donor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That we weren't eligible for, according to them, we weren't eligible to receive.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll be curious what they said was the reasoning. Yeah. Let's jog my memory on that for sure.
Curtis, what's up?
Yeah, so I guess we have similar issues when we have donor advised funds who are attempting to research our organization. And obviously, if they do an IRS search and they're using REIN, it pulls up 50 something different SORBA chapters, or if they search it by SORBA anyway.
Right.
So I'm curious if that's the issue, but because of our status with the IRS and because of our legal name with the state, we have these issues all the time. It also creates issues with our bank because we'll receive checks from DAFs and they'll have SORBA on the they're made out to SORBA.
That's what we're going over in the second part of this.
Definitely.
To rectify that problem. Well, maybe we go on to part 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you have any other questions for Casey, definitely reach out. I'll throw her email in the chat real quick. And now we're going to move on. Casey may drop because of
Okay.
sweet baby Opal.
Yep.
But
Sorba's intern.
yeah,
She
Sorba's
needs-
intern.
Thank you all so much. Yeah, just email me, and then the ones that we did talk to, Florida mud cutters and stuff, send me that stuff again, please.
All right, part 2, changing your name. So this is kind of alluding to what Curtis was talking about. So here is an illustration of the exact problem that Curtis mentioned. So if you were to go into the IRS nonprofit search and type in Southern Off-Road, you would get this. And this was a screenshot from earlier today. So all these are the individual EIN numbers, but the name will say Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association. And the good part, the part that actually determines what your chapter's name is cut off because Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association is too long. And this has caused a lot of issues over the past, and it has been a thing since, again, when I started with camp in 2011. We were told that that's how it had to be through a group exemption. You had to have all your subordinate organizations name this. Well, that's just not accurate. So chapters can utilize their own name, which is completely optional, but will help clarify who the chapter is, make it easier for your donors to recognize who you are, further emphasize that strong local branding, and cause a lot less administrative confusion. So this is similar to what Curtis mentioned as well. This is a check made out to SORBA, but it's for Rambo. So what happens, and this happens more than I want to deal with, is we get mailed a check, we deposit it, and then we have to then submit that payment to the chapter. All because of each chapter's name has Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association. So everyone on this call was bequeathed this when you got on. I absorbed this problem when I started working at SORBA, and this is our avenue to try to solve this. So again, why we want to change it is we just want to make things a lot more clear as to how you can get money to the organization that you want to be supporting. And this is specifically for donor interactions and people trying to give your chapter money. So we're going to go through the steps. We also have a checklist for this so that you don't have to remember what it is. And we're going to email out the checklist after this presentation with the recording. So the first step is that you need to go to the state and amend your legal name. Go through the steps of your Secretary of State. It's all different based on each different state, so you have to follow the guidelines for that specific state. Then you have to notify the IRS properly, which you'll be using your tax return to do that. And then you must notify us exactly what that name change is going to be, because we have to include that in that annual group exemption that we do every single year. That group exemption is submitted in November of the year. So if you file a 990 or a 990 EZ, this is the easiest way to do it. On your 990 form, in the top left corner, there's a box that will say name change. You check that box, and then you include what your new name is, and then what the name was prior. And the best practice for this is to do that for 3 consecutive years, because the IRS is dumb. I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat it. If you ever tried to be on the phone with the IRS or try to get them to answer this question, uh, they are not helpful in the least bit. It's taken literally 5 years to get the answer to this, and it didn't come from the IRS. So you submit this, you do it for 3 years, and this is only if you're doing the 990 or the 990 EZ. If you file the 990N, which is the postcard, you must send a letter to the IRS EON division, include your EIN, your old name, your new name, your certificate from the state, and after the fact, you got to request a record update. So it's a little bit more complicated on the 990N, and it may be a good thing with these changes with the group exemption filing, as well as a name change. You may want to do a 990 EZ for the next 3 years, which will help you with what you have to submit to SORBA for being a subordinate organization, as well as changing the name of your organization as you move through it. So an optional thing you can do is you can request an affirmation letter. So this affirmation letter will say that, yes, you did change your name. This is what the new name is. It's still registered under that EIN number. So that's going to be helpful for when you go to the bank and you change everything on the bank, which you'll need to do. When you're applying for grants, if your donor is asking you for a verification, be it a letter of determination or, if you ask us to send you a letter that states that you're part of our group exemption. So after you've made the change, again, you're going to need to go to your bank account, change the name on your bank account, because odds are it says Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association, yada, yada, chapter, DBA, whatever your chapter name is. You'll need to update any legal documents. So if in your MOUs or anything like that, you use your actual chapter name, so what's listed in the IRS, those things will need to change. And then any sort of funding platform that you might use that lists out the name that is on the IRS system, you'll want to change that as well. So again, this is not required. You don't have to do this. It's something that I think will benefit a lot of our chapters, and I highly encourage you all to consider doing it, but it's not something you have to do. And even if it's not, like, you don't have to do it this year. You can do it next year, the year after. Like, it can be done later. But I would do this because it opens up the door to make it a lot easier. Plus, we don't get checks in the mail from our chapters where SORBA has to deposit it to get it back to you. The name change doesn't affect your nonprofit status. It doesn't change anything about you being listed underneath SORBA's group exemption. You don't have to even put SORBA's name in there if you don't want to. And if you do consider it, I'd highly recommend putting it at the end. So, like, for instance, if you were Tar Heel Trailblazers and you wanted to have SORBA in there, I would do Tar Heel Trailblazers, chapter of Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association. So it's like the Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association part is the part that's getting cut off, not the Tar Heel Trailblazers. And to echo what Casey said about the group exemption stuff, is that we're here to help you out with it. If you have any issues, any questions, again, we've got checklists for both processes. So we'll have that available, but you can also just call or email or text, and we can help guide you through the process. So I added this quote that's a Shakespeare quote. What's in a name that which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet? And, the name of what it is important. So just because it doesn't change what your organization does, but it does change how your organization is seen and how it's seen from a donor's perspective and from a tax perspective. So I'm going to also open it up to questions from here about this topic, and make sure that everything is pretty clear so that you guys know where to go from here. Yes. Treasurer
All right,
Piedmont.
question. Yes, Michelle from Piedmont Fat Tire Society. So we went through the process of changing our name from the Greensboro Fat Tire Society to the Piedmont Fat Tire Society, and that took about a year of back and forth with the IRS. So happy to have that behind us. But for next year, will you guys be filing the tax return with the information we provide? How's that going to work? Or do we continue to file it?
You continue to file it on your own. We
Okay.
just have to have record of it, and we have to review it after it's been submitted,
Okay, but not before.
not before.
Okay. Oh, press the wrong button. Sorry.
Double question.
Yeah. Thanks.
Curtis.
So I'm still a little confused. Does the SORBA group exemption supersede our previous exemption?
I'm not
Or
sure.
we had, well, so like Mark was saying, we had our own nonprofit determination letter and exemption prior to being associated with SORBA. So when that happened, is the nonprofit exemption letter we've been providing people, is that not even accurate?
I'm not certain. If it's the same EIN number that you use, and I can tell you what it should be. If it is, and you can confirm with me real quick whether or not that's the EIN number that you've been using. So it should be 56-203-9607.
That's the one we're using. That's also on our nonprofit determination letter from 1997.
So what probably happened is, since you're a pre-existing organization, we brought in that EIN number under the group exemption. And I would imagine that prior to it, you were named Tar Heel Trailblazers. And then in 2011, when you were brought in, my assumption is that they threw the Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association in front of it. So I'm no expert on this and don't know exactly, but if I were to compare it to how SORBA functioned, so prior to us being involved with IMBA, which was 2008 or 9, SORBA had our own EIN number. We became part of IMBA, so we got absorbed by IMBA, but we still maintained our own EIN number, which is why we were able to fall back under that and still have our group exemption when we split, just a few years ago, in 2017, when SORBA became was no longer a region of IMBA. We just became SORBA again. So if you were to move on, and again, I would get somebody that's a tax expert, but if you decided that the Tar Heel Trailblazers no longer were a chapter of SORBA, you could probably still rely on that EIN number, because you had it prior to joining the organization. The question would be, in my mind, is the other chapters that we adopt that were created as part of SORBA might be a different question.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So is it a requirement for all SORBA chapters to roll up under this group exemption?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think that you're doing the wrong thing. But if for the chapters that were formed under SORBA, so they were never their own independent nonprofit prior to being SORBA, they won't have a letter of determination. So that's just part of the process. So, and what we have to do with that, if somebody requests a letter of determination, is that I send a letter from me on SORBA letterhead that talks about this organization as part of our group exemption, provide our group exemption number, which is separate from our EIN number. and basically affirm the fact that you are part of SORBA and operate underneath our nonprofit status.
Good deal. Thank you.
Yeah. How many people are going to go out and start the process of changing the name of their chapter?
We already started. I called the IRS and got the information how to do it. So we just filed a 990 and put our name, Tar Heel Trailblazers, on there. So we'll communicate all that information to you and get the determination letter, and state filings were already accurate. So
Yeah, I hope everybody does this, quite honestly. And I think it's kind of amazing, the things that happen over time that nobody really asks the questions why. And I have been asking the question why it's like this for a long time. And I'm happy to begin the resolution of getting this taken care of, because it's such a pain point. Again, I it's not like I was holding on to this check in preparation of this meeting. Like, it literally came in the mail today, to go through this whole process because they can't deposit the check themselves.
regarding checks, if we receive checks all the time, and they'll say Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association, Tar Heel Trailblazers, which doesn't align with our state filing. But having been in the banking industry for a long time, if like our bank we've been depositing checks like that probably since we became part of SORBA, but a maker of a check can, even the bank or the maker could go back and potentially return the check like really far down the road. So if somebody has a really large check and the bank is auditing it, like whatever, they can potentially return a check like pretty far into the future.
Yeah.
And so we've done things with our bank to address that. So one, like providing our IRS determination letter, some additional information regarding Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association. At least on the IRS website, it also says Tar Heel Trailblazers on there. So anyway, it can cause problems that maybe we haven't even yet seen.
Yeah, and most of the time the bank won't even take it. If it's like, so say you're, again, Rambo, the way that their bank account is set up, it doesn't say Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association on it anywhere. It says Rambo, Roswell Alpharetta Off-Road BO. I can't remember what the acronym says. And it's at least once a quarter, if not once every other month, that they have to send us a check because their bank won't take it, and we have to deposit it. And then now with the direct deposit, we direct deposit it. But prior to that, we would cut a check and then mail it back to them. And it's an administrative nightmare.
So do you know how many times you can, I guess, do that sort of informal name change? I feel like SORBA Chattanooga has done it once already.
I don't know the answer to that, but I can't imagine there'd be many limitations to it. Like in the presentation, I mentioned that it's good practice to do the same thing for 3 years in a row to make sure that it sticks. So I don't know if I would change it, within a 3-year period, but I can't imagine that being an issue.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow the timeline. I went back to 2014 and it's all on the 990 the same, which I feel like was shifted from the original IRS determination letter that we have in our drive. And with trying to get set up through sam.gov, there was some discrepancy on when we were incorporated.
Mm.
So that's That's what I was trying to sort out. And the IRS determination letter, our name is listed different than what we are going by now and filing on our 990s. So, anyways, that's probably a different conversation, but just curious because we are considering changing our name again.
Yeah. I and perhaps like doing the process and having that affirmation letter from the IRS will help that process as well. Anybody else? Y'all came with some hot and heavy questions tonight. They're all good. Okay, well, if we don't have any other questions, I think that we'll sign off and give you another 15 minutes of your evening back. So, and Mishka, you said that Camp's been looking into it due to some grain issues. Yeah, it causes like the SAM.gov and all sorts of grain issues. It just causes problems. And, I didn't have anything to do with it, but I'm still sorry that it's been a pain in the ass for everybody. And I'm here to help make it not a pain in the ass anymore. But yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead.
Yeah, we figured it predated what all you had done because it was like IMBA then SORBA and stuck to SORBA. So, but yeah, we're looking into it and we'll get it done. But there's also a lot of other get when you have. We were trying to get like it's a nonprofit Google Drive, but since it's under SORBA, we couldn't do that. Like all of that stuff would be free and it's upgraded. You have more memory and that kind of stuff. So there's other programs out there that'll give you stuff, but since ours was linked to SORBA that already had stuff, we're not, eligible. So
Make sure that you're using your EIN number and not SORBA's EIN number for that.
we did,
Okay.
but it came back as SORBA. So they
Oh,
said since it had the same name, we couldn't use it.
so sometimes in those scenarios, if I provide that that letter that says that you're part of our group exemption, it will clear those
That'll
things up.
okay.
So we can try that, but I think the name change process will help it tremendously as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking into that.
Cool. Thank you. Is that Doug? Who's with CVTA?
Yeah, that's me, Philip. Just want to check. You're going to be sending out the recording of this via email, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, definitely want to get our treasurer to review this one.
Yeah. This one was a nitty-gritty one.
For sure. All right, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for your time again, and thank you for what you do for your local trails and for your chapter. Nobody likes to talk about paperwork nor do paperwork, but it's got to get done, and we appreciate you doing it. So thank you. Have a good night. We'll see y'all later.